So with everybody officially in the let's circle back after the holidays mode, this is going to be a solo episode. And it's going to be a quick one, but this is actually a really important week for Forever Forward because 1 year ago today, I created this YouTube channel. And for those that only know me through Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you may be surprised to learn that Forever Forward wasn't always a podcast. I started out by uploading self-help content, and I look back and I laugh because nobody, and I mean nobody, needed more help this time last year than me. I was in no position to be giving people advice on how to think more clearly or how to live more purposefully. I mean, it makes me laugh, right? I made a video about why people are afraid of change. I made a video about how to deal with anxiety. I made a video about stoicism. And I think that's all well and good, but really what that was just like self-help to help myself. But I needed that, I really think I needed that at that time because this time last year I wasn't in the greatest spot. For the first time ever, I really just felt like I was in the passenger seat of my own life. And I've talked about it before, but 27 is a weird year, or at least was for me, because, all the excitement of my college experience had fully faded. The novelty of my job had worn off. I was too far away from, I guess, being a quote unquote adult. I'm doing the air quotes right now, but I'm wearing mittens. I'm wearing mittens because I think they turned the heat off in our apartment. So if you're watching on YouTube, just mind the mittens. But yeah, look, I didn't really feel like an adult either. And so it was just this weird area for me to ask myself kind of, who are you? What do you even like to do? And so I wish that Forever Forward had a better origin story other than just the fact that I was like deeply, deeply dissatisfied with my life. And I had always been interested in creating. I didn't always know what that was going to take the shape of, and I was always too nervous to start. But I was kind of thrust into this world after that sort of quarter-life crisis, and I've come out on the other side with a real passion for podcasting as a medium. And what a year it's been. I mean, really, truly, what a year it's been. Since May, we've hosted, I think, 40 different guests from varying backgrounds. We've had authors, filmmakers, business owners, fellow YouTubers, cancer survivors. Connor Tomlinson joined the show. And honestly, the greatest joy for me over the last 8 months is every episode, when we turn the cameras off, without fail, my first thought is always, wow, for as different as I thought that we were, they're just like me and I'm just like them. I started this podcast partially because I wanted to more deeply engage with the world. And that just sounds like a buzzword, and I don't even really know what that means. But what I do know is ever since I started this podcast, the world feels a little bit smaller. It doesn't feel as daunting. And so I'm really excited to see where this takes us in 2025 and beyond. And I would be remiss if I didn't just notice the fact that it is snowing here in New York City right now. I have not seen snow in New York City in like 2 or 3 years, I want to say, let alone around Christmas time. So I had Mark Barger-Elliott on the show last week. What an incredible episode that was. If you haven't seen it yet, consider checking it out. He is a TED speaker, he's an author, he's a filmmaker, and he talks about what he calls a miracle mindset, which is effectively this belief that the mystical is all around us if you just open your eyes and take a look. And and I told Mark during the episode, like, if you had said that to me 2 years ago, I would have said, Mark, that sounds really nice to say, but that is not real. That is not actually how the world works. But as I start to really try and take that mindset and use it, I actually think it's correct. This is a miracle right now. It's the Christmas season. We have snow coming down in New York City. The last time I saw snow in the state of New York was a few years ago. I was driving up to Saratoga with my girlfriend to try and do a nice couple nights away. I think we had both been very busy and it was going to be a relaxing weekend. So I think it was a Friday night, and we got in the car around 7. We were probably scheduled to arrive in Saratoga around 10:30. And about 2 hours into the car ride, it was snowing. It wasn't a blizzard, but it was snowing. And I didn't see a pothole in the road. And so I drove over it on the interstate and I blew my tire. Annoying, right? But probably not the end of the world, you would think. So we pull over to the side of the road. I'm like, all right, let me call AAA. Let me get a tow truck out here, and we can just get a new tire and keep going. So the tow truck guy shows up, and this man looks like he had just come out of the mines in West Virginia. He was covered head to toe in soot and ash. I don't know what he was doing beforehand. He was a great guy. But just right off the bat, like, okay, this is a little unusual, but we're going to keep going forwards. So he starts to work on the car, and he starts telling us, I don't think the tire I have in my car can go on this car. So we're thinking to ourselves, all right, well, what are our options? He's like, well, I can put you on the bed of my tow truck and I can drive you to the nearest tire shop. So we get on the back of this tow truck. It's my girlfriend's up front with the guy, and I'm in the back in the car on the tow truck. And at this point, I'm losing cell coverage because we're kind of in the middle of nowhere. I can't really talk to my girlfriend. She's up in the front seat. They must have had some conversation. But before arriving at the tire shop, he stopped to get cigarettes and some candy. We pull up to the tire store. Mavis Discount Tire was the name. And the tire shop was closed. So we get out of the car and we're like, hey, man, the tire shop's closed. What do you recommend we do? He's like, I don't know. We're like, okay, well, that's not really the answer we're looking for. We're like, are there Ubers in the area? And then he's like, what's an Uber? And then we're like, oh, shit. Okay, so this is not going to be good. So we effectively have no cell phone coverage. We have no Ubers. We have a car that is basically driving on a rim and is unable to get us anywhere. It's freezing out, and the guy leaves. We're like, okay, thanks for the tow, man. Now we're just in a parking lot in the middle of rural New York. So my first thought was, let's just sleep in the car. We can turn it on and turn the heat up, and we'll just conk out, wake up at 8 in the morning. We're already at the tire shop, and they can just put a new tire on, and we can go and continue our vacation how it always supposed to be. In hindsight, that is probably what we should have done. However, and I get this, my girlfriend did not want to do that. She was very concerned that if we did that, somebody might jump us or hijack the car, and I totally understand. So we basically just start driving. No maps. We don't even know where we are, but we eventually get cell service, and I'm literally driving on a rim. Like every single mile, it's just like the car is telling me please stop the vehicle. You are killing me. Please stop. Anyways, we finally find this one lodge, the Berkshire Travel Lodge, which was about 15 minutes up the road. And you can Google this. You can go ahead and Google the Berkshire Travel Lodge if you want to know more about it. But the best way I can describe it is picture a movie about a drug kingpin. And I want you to picture the shack, the warehouse where he keeps all of his paraphernalia. And I want you to imagine that the cop, right, the main protagonist of the movie, is pulling up to discover the warehouse full of paraphernalia. Except I am the protagonist, and I'm not actually pulling up to a warehouse full of drugs. I'm pulling up to a warehouse where I'm supposed to actually stay the night. And I walked in the front door because we were just so desperate for warmth and shelter at that point. So I walk in and I say to the guy, how much for a room? How much for one night? And I remember he said something along the lines of 60 cash. And I said to myself, oh, well, I only have 50. And he said, 50's fine. 50's fine. And it's that's when you know, right? As if paying $50 for a hotel room in New York is not already a red flag. When the price is being adjusted in real time, that's a mega concern. So we give the guy $50, walk out of the lobby, start walking to our room. All of a sudden, some guy jumps out of the bushes, and he's chasing after us, literally chasing after us like a feral man. So we open the key to the room, we get in there, we shut it. My girlfriend's barricading the door with a dresser and an old chair that was in there. There's stains on the walls. All you hear from all through the walls is banging and people yelling. It really was like a house of horrors. Ultimately, in the morning, we went out to check out with the guy. The AAA truck had already come to tow us back to the same tire shop to put the tire on the car. And the guy said, oh, yeah, sure. The breakfast is in there. And I look over, and there's a 4x4 closet. And in the closet is one piece of bread that has a fly on it, and then a coffee pot that has no coffee. So I was like, oh, man, thank you. I'm going to pass on the breakfast, but thank you for the offer. And we got driven to the tire shop. We got the tire put on our car, and then we made it to Saratoga. But anyways, it wouldn't be a Forever Forward episode if I didn't close with some thoughts around, what's been really hard about this year, because this has not been easy. Aside from getting an episode out every week and aside from finding guests, there have been so many things about this that have been challenging for me, existentially, as I kind of try and reinvent myself and become the person that I guess I always thought I wanted to be, but never had the courage to really try to become. And one thing that's been challenging for me this year is pairing sort of the practical side of my brain, the side of my brain that knows the statistics on podcasts. How many podcasts are created every year? So many. And how many die off, just as many, almost just as many. And for me, as somebody who has this hope and belief that this could be a top 10 podcast in the world, that's a really hard dynamic for me to navigate, right? Like 99% of me knows that the statistics on this stuff don't look good. But 1% of me really believes in my heart, more than I believe in anything, that this could be a top 10 show in the world. And so navigating that has been difficult, you know? And it's funny to me, like I get so much hate on TikTok. I don't know why, but I had a video on TikTok go viral. It got like 300,000 views, and there were a bunch of people on there, you know, basically criticizing the way I ask a question or my quality or, you know, the guest. And the truth is, like, nobody is harder on my stuff than me. I am my own biggest critic. All these people are preaching to the choir. But I think it's actually a neat combination of somebody who kind of like doesn't really believe that this is going to work, but is willing to do everything in their power for that little % chance that it actually does. I kind of like the way that this is shaping up for me, you know, and hopefully along the way, I find some more positive self-talk that actually motivates me to keep going. But for right now, I'm okay with this. You know, this has been a year of imbalance in thought, imbalance in work life. And again, I'm completely okay with 5, 8, 10 years of imbalance for the small chance that I can radically change my life. And I would just like to close, you know, I like to watch this guy, Jocko Willink, who's kind of this like really alpha, kind of hard, former Navy SEAL. I'm sure if you know podcasts, you know Jocko, and he's a wonderful, you know, motivational speaker, and he speaks on leadership. One of his taglines is discipline equals freedom. This year, I think it was a little bit different. Discipline might have led to freedom, but I think my discipline led to hope. In the beginning, there was not a lot of belief. There was not a lot of hope. You know, my first 5, 10, 15 episodes, kind of questioning, am I who I say I am? Is this show what I say it is? Is this as good as what I think it could be? But over time, every week with every new upload, I am stacking the evidence that I am exactly who I say I am, and that this show is exactly what I believe it will be. And that my dream to be the host of one of the world's largest podcasts is a little less crazy than it seems. And this would be nothing without every person watching. Everybody that's ever seen a short, clicked on a video, even if you watch for 8 seconds and click off. I just want to say thank you for your incredible 2024. I'm going to continue to strive to make this better and better in 2025 and beyond. If you're interested in coming on the show, genuinely reach out to me. My email is in the description. My Instagram is in the description. I'm just looking to highlight good people that have something they want to talk about. So with that said, I hope everybody has a happy holiday. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.